What is up, guys? X402 set to go multi-chain. Please like and hype the video. Max is going to give you guys a simple explanation of X402 right now.
AI agents will soon handle trillions in transactions autonomously. This means trading, buying services, settling invoices, micropayments, etc., etc. Without proper standards and guardrails, this risks chaos, hacks, or even the lack of trust. X402 creates an open, neutral standard, which, by the way, is backed by Coinbase, Stripe, Cloudflare, Google, Visa, Mastercard, Amazon Web Services, et cetera, et cetera. We'll be putting some emphasis on Mastercard here in a little bit, but basically, X402 allows all these things to happen so that payments can happen natively on the web, just like data does today. We'll get more into Quant being one of the key missing pieces here. We'll focus on institutional grade security and bank protections, and of course how AI agents get, I know it's a funny statement, but adult supervision. And what that means is it involves compliance, reversibility, settlement, and all while still moving at machine speed. Basically, it means this is going to bring in the bridges for crypto rails without traditional finance, but it's going to enable safe, scalable machine-to-machine commerce at global scale. In a nutshell, X402 plus Quant equals interoperability that is helping build the payment rails for the fourth industrial revolution, where AI doesn't just talk or analyze, it transacts value autonomously and safety. This is early, but there's high signals for infrastructure work. And of course, we're not going to just talk about X402 and Quant. We're going to talk about X402 with some integrations with your Cantons, your XRPs, your Stellars, and again, the bigger picture, even throw in some Zebec in the mix. So that's what I have for you guys in regard to X402. Back to you, Rick.
All right, awesome. And I think there was just some information released on Quant and X402. Max, if you can give us that really quick and then come right back.
Sure, no problem. So what we're going to get into is this brand new update. It actually comes from Quant's head honcho, the one and only Gilbert Verdian. So earlier today, to be exact, it was, I think, this morning, and Gilbert Verdian shared this, and immediately see Quant times the Linux Foundation. Now, big shout out to Jesse of Apex Crypto Insights, Scott of Longview Compute. They have both been pretty consistent in that when it comes to the Hyperledger Foundation, well, again, they changed the name, okay? Like there's the decentralized trust and whatnot. So that was part of the whole thing of like involving Linux. So now we're seeing some of these things come to fruition, right? So right here from Gilbert Verdian, this was 8:08 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, July 2nd. So depending on when you get this video, it is what it is. But right here, they had an article about this. And I may actually just do a deep dive on this specifically in its own right, but it says Quant is connecting agentic AI payments to the banking system. Right above here, Gilbert Verdian highlights AI agents are increasingly making transactions, executing trades, and settling obligations autonomously at machine speed. So when they mention this whole thing of the infrastructure behind it all, your takeaway is what other infrastructures, even outside Quant, would really stand out here? Gilbert Verdian points out banks authorize transactions and provide safeguards to our money. Agentic AI transactions should be no different, operating within the secure guardrails of bank security and, of course, protection. Rue has done countless deep dives. I even drove down the road, listened to a lot of these on X402. So when we were doing a live collaboration of our 3 channels plus the Coin Vault, right? 4 channels. This is one of the things that we shared. So we decided to get together and do more of an update together on this topic since we both have been covering it. I love this statement from Quant Network that you're seeing here on the screen where it says, this is why Quant Network joined the X402 Foundation hosted by the Linux Foundation. So again, it is my belief, along with people like Smoke, great researcher, other people, that when you look into the fundamentals of Hyperledger Besu, Hyperledger Fabric, it seems as though, unofficially speaking, right, that QNT is kind of like the Hyperledger token, unofficially speaking. Because, again, when we talk about the Linux Foundation, well, again, think about the name that existed before that. You had, of course, the Hyperledger Foundation. So, of course, they changed their name. Look what it mentions here real quick. It says, Fusion Layer 2.5. If you're not aware, this is one of Quant's new products. And it almost feels as though it's like a monopoly. Like there is no other technology out there currently speaking that has a layer 2.5. When we talked about this on the live show, that a layer 2.5 is game changer. I mean, we're talking about plug and play here, but the difference is this. Believe it or not, this rollup called Overledger Fusion Layer 2.5 rollup will allow any project to come in and not have to do like wrap tokens. This solves the wrap token problem. And believe it or not, some people don't even realize that is a problem. $42 billion problem. And this is just one key small area of the showcase of many Quant applications and products. And I don't want to harp up so much on Quant. I do realize we're focusing on x402, but you immediately see interoperability between decentralized and institutional finance is what they're building. I'll kick it over to Rue here just a little bit, but I do want to share this with you as well. This officially came over from the Quant network. And right here, really interesting to see them highlight specifically Gilbert Verdian in this, because it points out the future of payments is not a choice between decentralized and institutional. It is the interoperability between them. So think about x402, think about the term of decentralized. So again, Hyperledger Foundation, Linux Foundation, decentralized trust, all these terminologies matter. And of course, you see Gilbert Verdian's highlight from this morning. And of course, where it says fusion as in what? Quant Fusion. And what's tagged? Quant Fusion, x402, AI agents, and agentic payments. So I'm thinking of your agentic AI. I'm thinking all this. And that's why I was so excited by getting together with Rue and to share some of this. So back to you, Rue.
This is so huge. Before I share my screen, I just need to talk about this for a little bit. I might have to do a separate show on this. Like this has me so freaking excited, guys, because this is everything that Quant was built for, right? Quant is known as the layer of trust, right? And we've shared it many times throughout the years with you guys with the what is it called, the Overledger and the different APIs it connects to. So to me, now you can have all those different APIs connect with Pipedream. We can have all those different APIs connect to anything, right? And you can have agentic AI going and running 24/7. Now that's the thing to really key in on, is that with agentic AI, these AI agents can work around the clock with no rest, with no sleep, like a human, 24/7. And since the fees are next to nothing, it can behoove these agents. Shout out to Crypto Future. It can behoove these agents to work 24/7 with no break, right? Because the fees are very minuscule, right? So that's the thing to really take away from this. And all of this data can be fed into everything with these agentic AI payments. So, and if you're a number person, Quant layer 2.5, 2 and 5 add up to 7. Kind of interesting. There's another kind of 2.5 that's coming up really soon. America's 250th birthday is just 2 days around the corner. So I find that very interesting as far as the numbers go with that. But let me go ahead and share my screen here. So Max just gave you not only a simple breakdown of x402 and what it is, he also said that Quant joined the x402 Foundation, right? So one thing to note about the x402 Foundation, as I share my screen here, is x402 was basically developed by Coinbase and this engineer, Eric Reppel. But what I want to show you guys here is we also have on the x402 team, Cloudflare, Circle, and Near Protocol's co-founder, Ilya Pulosukhin, and Near has labeled itself as the settlement layer for x402. You can see here in this post, Near Protocol has run for over 5 years on the mainnet with 100% uptime. The settlement layer for agentic or agent economy is running. So they've kind of noted themselves as the settlement layer for agentic AI. And that makes sense because if they were on the x402 team and x402 was specifically made for agentic payments, then it made sense for their CEO, who's big time with AI. In fact, Max did a great job, brilliant job of covering Near on the Coin Vault, and he broke down Ilya Pulosukhin and his paper, Attention is All You Need, and how this paper basically is like the precursor of a very excellent technology for AI, which is transformers. right? More than meets the eye, not those transformers, but the transformers and how AI breaks down information. We won't get into a deep weed about transformers themselves. It's not important, but the importance is to know that this guy is a big deal when it comes to AI. So it makes sense for him to head up Near and for Near to be the settlement layer for all of Agentic AI. By the way, he's a former Google researcher. Okay. So he has big chops when it comes to AI. Now, one of the things I also want to show you here, and Max said it a little bit in his what he gave you guys, is some of the X402 members. We got Amazon Web Services, American Express, Circle, Cloudflare, Coinbase, Fiserv, Google. Right, here's Google again. And of course, remember, Ilya Pulusukin was a former Google engineer, former Google researcher. Mastercard, remember all of these for later. Monad, Moonpay, Ripple, Shopify, Solana, Stripe, and Visa, right? Because some of these guys are going to come up later in what we're going to look at, okay? Aiden as well here, and back to Amazon Web Services. Now, Stripe, along with Visa, created this layer one built specifically for payments called Tempo. And Tempo and Stripe created kind of an addition to X402. X402 is underneath it. People talk about them as if they're two separate protocols, and they are, but X402 is underneath it, and it's called Machine Payments Protocol. Now, Machine Payments Protocol, the big takeaway from this is X402 is mainly designed for the internet, is mainly designed for crypto. It cannot do regular ACH payments, regular credit card payments. For as far as I know right now, I don't know if they're working on an upgrade or not, but Machine Payments Protocol can. Okay, so I'm going to read this little excerpt here from a post that WeX did. WeX is a nice exchange. It says MMP, a full stack solution. Stripe's agentic commerce suite includes shared payment tokens, SPTs. This is not part of MMP itself, but is an extension mechanism from Stripe that can be used in conjunction. SPT allows for agents to securely pass user credit card or wallet credentials to merchants without exposing the real data. Okay, those credentials are limited to single transactions and have time constraints, which can be understood as programmable, self-destructing authorization. In practical use, this means that agent paying through MMC can use USDC, and this is the important part. They can use USDC on Tempo or a user-linked Visa card, or even a combination of both. So MMP, Machine Payments Protocol, you can use a regular Visa card, okay? So it is set up to have any regular card usage, which means now through Agentic AI, you get access to almost everything. Because some of the things that we know about stablecoins and things right now for stablecoin usage right now, I did a show a couple days ago talking about this. 99% of the payments with stablecoins are crypto only payments, right? But you have things like this with the Machine Payments Protocol. Now stablecoins have access to anything that Visa's doing, anything that Stripe's doing, because it has access to a regular ACH or a regular credit card, debit card network. Okay. According to Tempo Mainnet, and another thing that has Zebec implications is that with MMP, it also supports streaming payments. Okay. And let me see if they have that here. It also supports streaming payments. Okay, agents can authorize a spending limit once and continuously make micropayments within that limit. So I think they even use the word streaming somewhere here. Let me search for it so you guys can see it. There it is. So MMP, on the other hand, maximizes system. It addresses high frequency trading, risk control, and fiat currency across fiat currency access issues through sessions, streaming payments, and compliance frameworks. So it also uses streaming payments, which is just right up Zebec's alley right there. Okay. And we also know that Zebec can communicate with Nacha for ACH payments. So Zebec also supports regular ACH payments. Now, I'm going to pass it back to Max to discuss some things with Ripple as far as X402 goes. Max?
Well, thank you for that, Rue. That was a lot to get into. We're obviously unpacking quite a bit, but that's what we do. So let's go ahead and pull this up on the screen for you guys as well, so you can see firsthand what we're referring to. And I want to give a big shout out to this guy's name is Chart Nerd. All you guys who follow Smoke notice that they cite each other's research, but this is an interesting one because some people are going to ask, is there any X402 example here in regard to Ripple or with XRP? And the answer is yes. So as we get that up on the screen, let's pull that up. All right, so right here, this gentleman, give him a follower at Chart Nerd TA. He says probably nothing. All right, so we just talked about obviously Amazon Web Services. Would you like to know the Ripple side of that? Of course you would. Amazon Web Services just plugged into X402 to accept agentic payments. Now, in reality, they didn't just do this. If you're wondering how long ago it was somewhat recent, right? June 16th. I mean, it's just a few weeks ago, right? So I'm going to go ahead and bookmark this, share it, get it out to the community, and so on. All right. So it says T54, which Rue kind of gave you guys a little taste on that, and I think we're maybe going to get further into it. But T54 was the provider as far as the XRPL side of it with X402 because it was a facilitator enabling secure XRP and RLUSD X402 powered agentic payments. I love this. Ripple, a handshake with AWS, as in Amazon Web Services. Ripple, T54, handshake, checkmark. Ripple with X402, checkmark. Interconnected. All right, so you want to see the actual examples, right? So this comes from an Amazon Web Services pamphlet. Let's blow this up a little bit more, where you can see it firsthand. And you see Amazon Web Services partner profile with Ripple, and it says at that time, right? This is a while ago, right? XRapid lets payment providers and other financial institutions minimize liquidity. Kind of been there and done that with XRapid, but XRapid uniquely uses a digital asset, XRP, to offer on-demand liquidity, which lowers the cost while enabling real-time payments in emerging markets. It's built for enterprise use. XRP offers banks and payment providers an efficient, scalable, reliable liquidity option. Yeah, no kidding, because that's literally what? On-demand liquidity, which is Ripple's main product. Now, as I jump back to here, I want you guys to see firsthand when we talk about the XRPL facilitator, right? Sometimes seeing is believing when it comes to at least documentation. In the documentation, you see T54, and it's immediately highlighted the XRPL AI infrastructure. So what are we talking a lot about today? X402, Agentic AI, and again, like how payments come into the mix. You have secure machine payments on the XRP ledger, and it says XRPL X402 facilitator. See, right there, some people were not even aware of that, right? Verifies and settles pre-signed payment transactions. So your API can charge per request without API keys, custodial wallets, or custom payment glue. Now, earlier, you guys heard Rue, no pun intended, use the term like rest. With no rest, he said, 24/7, 365. Well, what did we just talk about earlier? We talked about Quant Network, and what is Quant's role with it all? They have REST APIs, right? It's kind of funny how it's literally called REST APIs. You may be wondering, like, well, what does that mean, Maximus? REST APIs, by definition, is a representational state transfer application programming interface. Like, again, REST, right? And basically, it's a style of two different software applications that are going to communicate with each other over the internet using a standard web protocol. So an API, what would that do? Well, that in itself acts as a software mediator, okay? And it applies this REST guidelines to all of it. Like, again, it helps developers build interfaces that are highly scalable, flexible, and more importantly, like lightweight. So again, when we talked about Quant earlier, thinking Q&T would be used for its REST APIs, and they connect to what is referred to as dApps. What are dApps? Decentralized apps. And then Quant actually calls them MDApps. What is MDApps? Multi-decentralized apps. We're going to use the technologies of the past and bridge them into what? The future. So jumping back to this, because we need to do that, we see here on the next page this interesting finding as well. Let's blow this up a little bit more. And it says right here on this particular highlight, I think we got the right page up. We do. It says the launch includes support, and boom, X402 payment using XRP. Again, powered payments using XRP and RLUSD, enabling AI agents to transact for APIs, compute, and other digital services. Now, a lot of people who are, I hate to say it, the anti-XRP people out there, they're going to point out, specifically speaking, I don't like the idea that XRP is just an option. It should be the dominant force. Well, think about it. Why isn't it not currently the dominant force? You don't have true clarity out there. Despite what anybody says, it's still the crypto Wild West. And it's going to be the crypto Wild West for quite some time until we get to just that, a real, true, hopefully like the Clarity Act and whatnot. Again, I've used this term multiple times because it's an actual real thing. There's a gentleman, his name is Sagar Sabahai, and years ago, before he joined Fireblocks to go do his own thing with Fireblocks, he was part of Ripple. And he pitched Ripple's product, their main one, which hardly anybody talks about for whatever reason, of on-demand liquidity with the Central Bank of Indonesia, and said, hey, here's our use case. And they loved it. They absolutely loved it. The Central Bank of Indonesia, plus the participants who were there, they were like, hey, we like XRP. We love the use case. We cannot legally hold this on our balance sheet. So moving forward, when I talk about the order books opening up, again, what would be more of that dominant force that would make sense? Something like your XRP. But what would be different moving forward, ladies and gentlemen? X402. Because now we'll have agentic AI, and that's going to be a whole different shebang as far as the whole commerce setup works. So I think that might be the last page. No, it's not. It's actually this right here. This is just showing the logo of where it came from. But nonetheless, I'm going to kick it back to Rue here just a bit. But yeah, even right here, see what it says? T54 introducing X, like as an XRPL, with X402 facilitator. So you have an XRP X402 facilitator, plain as day. We'll get more into the other examples that we have in regard to the Stellar side of things with X402, but that's what I have as far as the Ripple side of things and XRP for everybody real.
And just to recap, guys, we just showed you how Quant and Quant can connect to all different areas, making it not necessary for wrap tokens. And now Quant connecting to everything that connects to Near. Near is the settlement layer for X402. And we just showed you here now how Ripple is connecting to everything. And I want to continue on to talk about how Ripple is a connection here. And basically, we're going to show you where they created a standard to basically say, okay, every company now, besides Quant, you can use this stablecoin as your open standard. Okay, let's share that right now. We will click on a Near one because I don't see it, and then I'll just navigate to it from there. Okay, so here it is right here. Okay, so big news for here recently, June 30th, introducing OpenUSD. Now, remember this guy, Zach Abrams. We're going to talk about him later. This is going to be very important. Why? Okay. Founding CEO of Open Standard. And again, I talked about this on a show a couple days ago. Definitely go check out that show. All right. Now, there are over 140 businesses connected to this OpenUSD stablecoin. So basically, through this stablecoin, they now have stablecoin interface, which all 140 of these businesses accept. Again, if we're looking for adoption, right? And I showed you with the machine payments protocol, how the machine payments protocol in X402 can take both crypto payments and standard Visa payments or Stripe payments. Well, on this list here, we have Tempo, which was built by Stripe and Visa. So they're on the list here. I also believe that Stripe is listed on this list as well. There it is, and Visa. So it's a little bit of redundancy there. But again, so that shows you through this open USD standard, both Stripe and Visa can use that with Tempo. Tempo is built, again, specifically for payments, and they accept multiple different stable coins, right? But I'm gonna connect this even more later. But you can see how many companies are here. Like this is companies around the realm, around the entire world, right? From the SoFis to the Cross Rivers to the Mizuhos to the Shinhans to National Australian Bank to DBS, which I think is like the Philippines or Thailand, from South Africa here to K Bank in Korea, Kakao Bank in Korea, Samsung in Korea. We got PayPal, Stripe, Visa, Mastercard, American Express, Discover, like the four major card companies. Aiden, which we saw them again with X402 there. MoneyGram, which is everywhere. Like this is literally covering the entire world. Did I get Abu Dhabi Islamic Bank, Google, Samsung, IBM, Shopify, Mercado Libre. So we got Latin America here, Mercado Pago, Infosys is Indian. And when I say Indian, I mean red dot Indian, not Native American, not the feather. So we got everywhere covered here. We got Braille, which is connected to Canton, and Rain is connected to Canton, and Bridge, right? Zach Abrams, I don't know if he's still the CEO of Bridge, but he was also the CEO of Bridge. And we've covered that before on the channel as well. Bridge basically says, hey, we make money move. We can translate any stablecoin to any fiat. Okay. So there's a little bit of a redundancy here. And basically, okay, well, we created an open standard, an open USD, which is a open standard. The coin is called, the stable coin is called open standard. So open standard USD, we created this for all 140 companies. And we made our guy, Zach Abrams, the CEO, who also happens to be the CEO of Bridge, which does the same thing, right? So all of this interconnected, right? And we've even connected this to Stronghold. But if you see Bridge here, you want to add some more wallets, you want to add some more companies. Well, here's Sui, Karna, MetaMask, Shopify. Some of these were already on the list. Bitso, Dakota, TazaPay, WireX, Phantom, Remitly. Okay, you can add some more. AirTM with Stellar. You can add some more companies to that list as well. All right. And then if you want to kind of key it back into Agent Pay even more, we had an announcement recently from Mastercard. It's funny how all these announcements are happening right now. Maybe we get clarity pretty soon here, because all these announcements are making it a standard for Agentic AI. All of these announcements are creating open standards for money to be passed to all these different companies around the world via Agentic AI, via Quant. Okay, all of the infrastructure is being put into place now. Mastercard launches Agentic Pay for machines to unlock super fast, always on payments. 30 industry leaders. Here's Stripe and Tempo again. Here's Coinbase again. Here's Cloudflare again. Remember, these are x402 founders, Cloudflare and Coinbase, right? They wrote it, okay? Aiden again, Bank and International, and we'll go down here and note Mastercard, because Max is going to tell you guys some things you'll hear a little bit later about Mastercard connecting them to Canton, okay? So notable ones that we haven't really mentioned yet here. Aave Labs, right? Aave, great one. Anchorage Digital, which has Zebec connections. We know Ripple has a partnership with Zebec, and we know Stripe and Tempo do. Stripe indirectly through Stellar, because Stripe is an initial investor in Stellar. Solana, we know some Zebec is built on Solana. We got Turnkey and Privy, I think is on here. No, they're not on here. Moonpay and T54 Labs, which Max just got through talking to you about T54 Labs. I just want to show you here on their website. It does show that they're an x402 facilitator. So just so you guys know here, where is it at here? We go down here. There we go. XRP Ledger x402 facilitator. So the facilitator is the guy that's going to really pass the money back and forth when it comes to XRP Ledger and x402. Something to note here, T54 is also a Franklin Templeton company. So they're backed by Ripple and Franklin Templeton, okay? So just note that for later, because Max is going to mention them later. And then we have here something that I want to tell you guys, because a lot of people might think that this might be a couple months ago, or a couple years down the line. They just announced it. How soon could this actually take effect, right? Well, shout out to the patrons. I shared this with the Patreons like a month ago. Okay, let's see when this article was written. Okay, May. So I shared it with them 3 months ago. Shout out to the patrons. You guys always get this first less than a cup of coffee there, where we do weekly open mic nights, weekly symbolism Sundays, and we have exclusive chat rooms. Well, let me show you here where they say Cloudflare says, remember, they helped originate x402. Cloudflare, so they should know, says they expect AI bot traffic to surpass human traffic by 2027, which I will remind you, my friends, is less than 5 months away. Okay. And this comes from a reputable source. Artemis investment research platform for the best crypto equity stablecoins trusted by Visa, McKinley, VanEck, Sequoia, and Ribbit. So they are very credentialed. So they should very much know. Slack says agents will outnumber humans on this platform within 2 years. Microsoft sees software users shifting beyond humans. And Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, has described NVIDIA operating with 7.5 agents for 75K employees. Shout out to us at the Coin Vault, two-thirds of the members here. Check out the video that Max did on Near over there, where he diagrammed the touch. Jensen Huang touched the CEO of Near, Ilya Polasukin. Okay, I think that touch has more to it than that. I don't think they were just joking. I think there's something behind that. But they also note that it seems as though Near is embedded within NVIDIA hardware. So that's why I'm very, very high on Near for the future. And of course, I just showed you where they call themselves the settlement layer of X402. And like I showed you, or the settlement layer for Agentic AI, excuse me. But I just showed you that their CEO, Ilya Polasukin, was on the team that developed X402. So all of this is really connecting here. I'm going to pass it back here to Max to let you have some connections between Mastercard and Canton.
Well, great research again, Rue. That was a lot to get into. We will connect what you're talking about with Canton. Let's just go ahead and pull this up as well. You may have never seen this, but shout out to the guys who are the OGs who have. And right here we have Canton, Franklin Templeton. I will give you guys, of course, the example in regard to the MTN. I just want to share this real quick. So we have Canton, Franklin Templeton, Benji technology platform expanding into the Canton network. This, of course, was originally shared November 12, 2025. Some people say, well, this is a big deal, but you may be wondering, like, why is it a big deal, to say the least, right? So right down here, it mentions this collaboration. Now think about this, right? It says literally this collaboration showcases how regulated tokenized products can power the next generation of institutional finance. Again, it said Darius Seat, who is the founder of QCP, together with Canton, we're building trusted, scalable solutions that redefine market standards. The integration of the Benji technology platform into the Canton network demonstrates the strength of our ecosystem. And then right down here, it says the head, of RWA, a digital asset, says, quote, with Franklin Templeton joining the network, institutions gain access to a trusted provider, enhance collateral mobility, and deepen liquidity options across our global Canton network. So for one, we already know about Canton when it comes to like the privacy layer of things. But again, you're also deepening that liquidity there. And that's definitely worth pointing out. Now, to jump back with what Rue was requesting, I want to share this. So we originally shared this, I think, in one of our first Canton videos, or on the Coin Vault. And of course, you've seen some of this exclusively at Maximus Crypto as well. To solidify some things, you see here in this figure, you do have figure 11, the MTN with Swift integration. This is from the Regulated Settlement Network. Again, Citi, as in CITI, they hosted the RSN. And you see the Canton node. You also see the Swift connector and the Swift transaction manager simulator kicking it down over to the Mastercard MTN. There's another example here, and I'll try to blow this up a little bit, but every time I do, it's going to get a little blurry because it came from a cell phone. Okay, so it says direct RSN connectivity model, an alternative setup where the MTN platform directly integrates with a Canton native API using ISO-based message structures was explored. So again, think about that messaging. That's enriched data. So again, the old data model of Swift MT that dates all the way back to the 1970s, that only had like 32 bytes of data, or actually I should say characters of data. And now we're entering into enriched data with 10,000 characters. That's a huge difference. And on top of that, we use in the coding XML. So it kind of gives more of a rap sheet of true translation, to say the least. Again, kind of like going to a Chinese restaurant. You put in an order, that guy that you're talking to may very well only speak Mandarin. So as a result, it gives you a bunch of Chinese characters splashed across your receipt. You don't know what that stuff means, right? You don't know what that means at all. We have text messaging on our phones. When we text each other, we need to know what we're trying to say. Can you imagine financial messages? As the saying goes, time is money. So this immediately, within real time, split second, translates it for you, right? They call it enriched data. So we're now with this financial messaging, it's going to incentivize the central banks and the commercial banks to finally transact more of just that money, digital money, more than they ever have done before. Right down here, you see the Canton node, you see MTN connection. All right, a little bit more about this. This is the Broadridge side of it. Look what it says here. Figure 5 cross-network intraday repurchase repo agreement settlement high-level design. If you're wondering where this came from, it actually came from the RSN, a regulated settlement network, when they were doing these pilots and they had market participants join them. Quant network was one of the ones that were chosen. Also Canton network. Again, what's the takeaway here? They're both a network of networks. So you see here, Swift transaction manager simulator connecting to Broadridge. We know about Broadridge being that underlying application provider, even to things like Canton, right? And then you see also on the right side, pretty much the same thing when it comes to the end of that repo, right? So on the top left, you have the trade consumption, consummation, and the start of that leg for repo, and then you have the end of it on the right. So it's pretty clear, to say the least, in regard to that Fed cash partition. Just 2 more examples before kicking it back over to Rue. You even see here, figure 4 cross-network correspondent bank settlement, high-level design, and then you have the RSN FMI model, Fed cash partition, Swift. You even have Tacit interbank network, okay, for the originating bank and the beneficiary. And then right here, you also have for cross-network DVP settlement. If you're new to the terminology, that means delivery versus payment, the high-level design. And right here, you have Swift and the MTN as in Mastercard. Remember how you mentioned APIs? So yeah, both the Swift connector and the API. So clearly you see how Canton comes into the mix. And I'll just read this real quick before I kick it back over to Rue. Again from Canton, again from Franklin Templeton, with many global institutions already part of the Canton ecosystem, integration of the Benji technology platform as to the network's growing roster of high quality tokenized instruments. So again, that's a pretty nice stamp of approval, high quality. Canton continues to build a foundation for regulated markets. So that term right there, regulated markets. What did we just cite from the material? The Regulated Settlement Network. Hosted by who? Hosted by Citi. Canton continues to build the foundation for regulated markets to operate seamlessly in the digital era, enabling cross-market settlement, collateral, mobility, and liquidity management. Everything we just showed you in regard to Canton connecting to the Mastercard MTN, and even talking to Swift, which a lot of people don't even know about that. So that's the Canton / Swift / MTN / Franklin Templeton side of this research. Back to you, Rue.
So guys, we took Mastercard and we brought it all the way back to Canton, right? You saw Mastercard had their Agentic Pay, which they connected to everything there. We saw Mastercard with x402. I think they were involved as well with x402. Yes, they're on the x402 foundation. So we brought Mastercard all the way back to Canton, right? So Canton is being like, they're at this point the institutional chain, right? I know they try to hide from that label, but if you're trying to reach the institutions who want privacy, their chain of choice as of right now seems to be Canton. So all of the x402 with machine payments protocol and via things like Quant, which solves the token, the wrap token problem, can now communicate via Canton, and via Canton they can make everything private if they want to, and they can use Near for the settlement layer for agentic AI. So all of these things are connected here. Now, I just want to show you some members here of the global synchronizer, and that's going to kind of link us up into everything as well. So again, we see Circle there is, this is the Canton Foundation. It used to be called the Global Synchronizer Foundation, but they kind of mask that a little bit. So we got Chainlink, Circle, Fireblocks, right? We just got through telling you about Fireblocks and Quant, right? So there's a Quant connection there. We also know Fireblocks went out and bought 250 million Zebec. Is there some payroll things going on there as well? And we know, of course, the DTCC, and we know NASDAQ. So again, the biggest liquidity market, which is the stock market, is also connected there. Hint, hint, right? So now that they're tokenizing stocks, maybe they can do things like have that be a part of treasuries, right? And that's where Zebec could come in with Ripple, where they can do tokenized treasuries. and have Agentic AI deal with those tokenized treasuries via the DTCC, Fireblocks, NASDAQ, and Quant and Canton, right? So let's continue here. We got Zero Hash. They also came up today as well. So you can see this is all kind of tying back and linking in together with Mastercard and Canton. We got Zodia, which is connected to it's a custody site. It's connected to SBI, which SBI is also on this list. So you can see, as much as people like to put Canton and XRP against each other, some of the same players that deal with XRP also deal with Canton. So take from that what you will. Okay. Zero Hash, SBI, Zodia, which was partly funded by SBI, right? Visa, which we've heard of them countless number of times today with Stripe, countless number of times with Tempo, right? YZI Labs is actually Binance, so take from that what you will as well. Hex Trust, which deals with XRP as well. Kaiko, a really great information agency. BitGo, Max just showed you how Broadridge and Canton are intimately connected and how that just connected to Mastercard. So again, we're connecting every single dot here for you guys, right? Okay, so again, the global synchronizer makes this work because they give you the atomic transactions. Either everything goes through or it doesn't go through at all, okay? So this global synchronizer is very important, and these super validators are very important to that system. So we gave you a lot of ones that connect to Zebec, a lot of ones that connect to Canton, a lot of ones that connect to the stock market, a lot of ones that connect to Ripple, okay? Also, we got Layer 0 here, Hypernative, which we know does security. They also connect to Zebec. Zebec uses them for security. Copper, they're really big at custody foundation. But the one we're going to focus on right now is Zenith, right? So Zenith is trying to bring a lot of Ethereum liquidity over to Canton. They basically made it very, very easy for someone who wants to bring Ethereum apps over to Canton. And it's like almost as if they're on Canton network and Ethereum network at the same time. Whenever they do a transaction, it's just one commit or one protocol almost, right? So I highly suggest that you guys listen to this entire interview. It's a two-parter where the CEO of Zenith, his name is Heslin Kim. Shout out to him. Shout out to Longview Compute. He actually interviewed Heslin Kim. I've yet to see his interview yet. I'm going to watch that, Scott. I can't wait to see that, bro. But right now, the CEO of Edel, okay, which I did a video on Edel. Definitely check that out on Canton. They're doing tokenized stocks, and they have the ability to possibly be the hyper liquid of stocks, okay? Because on Canton, they're launching a perpetuals market for stocks, okay? Edel, very much slept on. Shout out to the patrons. You guys, I told you guys about it first. We recovered it like 6 weeks ago, and you guys got told first. But now that the video's out, I can tell you guys on the channel. Definitely check out the Patreon if you want to know about things like this first. But you can see here, which I always forget to like videos too, guys. Definitely like this video if you find some value in it, and definitely like and subscribe. We're on our way to 10K subscribers. But here, talking to Edel CEO, we have Zenith CEO, and he says here that a layer one, a really big layer one, is trying to get on Zenith to get onto Canton. Let's go back a little bit and we'll play like 30 seconds of this interview. Let me make sure it sounds up, and here we go.
Zenith virtual blockchains of their own to have a subnet on Canton with its own thesis. There's one that's doing specifically DPIN, the DPIN L1 that wants its own Zenith virtual blockchain to have connectivity into Canton.
To have their own VM
their
on Canton.
And have migration of all their assets and apps so they can earn rewards via Canton's app reward structure.
Yeah.
We have RWA L1 that's doing it. We have L1 that is very well known and still huge, one of the biggest, who wants to have their own
Yeah.
Zenith virtual blockchain for connectivity of payments,
Yeah.
specifically
Yeah.
in Canton network.
Yeah. So you're basically opening the doors.
So who is Heslen Kim talking about? Who is this big layer one that wants their own to do payments on Canton? Is it Stellar? Is it Ripple? Zebec's not a layer one, so I don't know if he means Zebec, but could it be Zebec? Well, if it's Ripple or Stellar, Zebec works with them, so it would be fine. You know that Crypto Hawk on his interview, he said, Simon said that they were going to deepen their relationship with Canton. Is this it? So who is the layer one that Heslen Kim is talking about that wants its own subnet on Zenith? And I just want to show you guys Zenith here. I'm going to bring up their X so you can see what they're trying to get done here. They have a little blurb here that we'll read. Canton was purpose-built for what institutions actually need: privacy, compliance, atomic settlement, governance frameworks they can actually operate within. A decade of building with regulators produced the network that JP Morgan, DTCC, Goldman Sachs, and now Visa, remember all of these players, we've been talking about DTCC and Visa, preferably, or especially, I should say, Visa all night, now depend on for live production operations. Zenith is an on-ramp that opens this infrastructure to 31K active Ethereum developers. Both sides get what they need. Neither side has to compromise on what makes them work. Zenith. Okay, so really big. I'm going to be really on the lookout. They're supposed to have a token launching at some point. I think it'll go kind of gangbusters. Definitely be on the lookout for that. But here it is, right? Also here you can see that they got invited to Japan's mega bank consortium here to tokenize 1.6 trillion of the JGB repo market. And you can see some of those banks that we mentioned in the open standard USD here. I think we had Mizuho in here. We got a couple of those banks I think we mentioned there, right? So huge to see there. And I'm really stoked about Zenith. And I put a question out to you, Max. Who do you think that layer one is that Heslen Kim might be talking about?
Well, I'm going to have to lean maybe towards Stellar. And the reason for that is because we did mention a lot about x402.
In the year 1997, the HTTP spec reserved status code 402 for a world where websites could charge for access directly. For nearly 30 years, the internet has been waiting for a native payment layer. And with x402, that long-reserved status code is finally coming to life. x402 enables websites and APIs to request payment directly through the HTTP protocol using the 402 payment required status code. Combined with the speed and low fees of the Stellar network, this enables a new emerging machine economy. Let's give Claude some funds to play with and see how this works. I'm opening up the Freighter wallet and using the Coinbase on-ramp widget to purchase a couple of dollars of USDC directly with Apple Pay. Now I've already set up a paid resource using simple, familiar tooling. To get access, it's going to cost you or your AI agent 1 cent. Next, I'll add an MCP server to Claude and provide my wallet credentials so that Claude can access the funds. When the AI agent makes the request, the server responds with 402 payment required, along with some instructions. The agent evaluates these and signs a transaction via the MCP server and resubmits the request. An x402 facilitator verifies the payment on-chain, and the API immediately returns the requested resource. The agent can now continue its task without API keys, subscriptions, or manual payments. It's simple technology and easy to implement, but it points to an important opportunity, a future where AI agents discover, purchase, and use resources using a standard built into the fabric of the web. Learn more about x402 on the Stellar network at stellar.org.
So that right there is a pretty darn good example. And, that right there alone, I would lean towards Stellar, right? The other area I was going to jump into, just to give you guys a little bit more of an example of the crossover, even from Stellar itself on April 2nd. So again, the next month, because we just showed you March, we have this example from Stellar. Autonomous agents need payment infrastructure that settles in seconds. So again, even Zebec, right? What is Zebec looking to do? Payroll in seconds. And they're looking to streamline payroll also with the use of stablecoins. So this costs fractions of a cent, works on open permissionless rails. This person, who's Jose F. Del Ponte, who is the president and chief growth officer over at Stellar, shares how x402 on Stellar enables machine-driven commerce at scale. And he highlights dynamic. And look what it shows here in regards to dynamic. Ru was telling me that some of you guys already highlighted dynamic in his community, the the Rue crew. So it says wallet infrastructure for crypto and fintech, trusted by Western Union, Lighter XYZ, which I guess some of you guys are getting into, Zero Hash, which myself and Rue have done tons of research on this, and of course the overlap to things like Zebec, and then like it says, and more. And it's a Fireblocks company. So we know that Quant Network holds the master key basically for Fireblocks. Rue and I have done that research. But again, Agentic Finance Stablecoin Report. On this one, April 2nd, I'll have Rue jump in here in a little bit. Immediately, you see Agentic Finance and Stablecoins Report, Dynamic plus Y Combinator. I mean, Y Combinator, I mean, you can interrupt me on this one, Rue. You've done the research. How much research have you done on, obviously, Y Combinator, the Drapers? There's something to be said about that.
Indeed, yeah, no, a lot of Tim Draper connections to Y Combinator, a lot of Sam Altman connections to Y Combinator. It's crazy.
Yeah, and so just jumping a little bit more into this, I'll put this on mute actually. So it says Agentic Finance, Stablecoin, everything you need to know about your new stack. Now watch this. Goes into some of these other ones. Mintlify. You have Moonpay. We just talked about Moonpay. Fireblocks. Rain. You just mentioned Rain. I mean, the overlap here is, I mean, it's more than coincidental at this point. And then we see Bitso, Allium. I've covered that. You have as well. Artemis, Chain Analysis, Solana, obviously Stellar, Zodiac Markets, and then it kind of does a cycle on that. I also want to point you guys over to here. Let me just flash it up on the screen. So here's their website. Again, it's just more or less highlighting the tool, right? So this is Dynamic, a Fireblocks company. And right down here on the embedded or enabled chains, you have obviously the Ethereum virtual machine, Solana, you have Sui, you have Toncoin, you have Stellar. And remember how Rue just mentioned Tempo? I mean, he's mentioned it quite a few times, right? So you do have Tempo, you have Midnight, right? And you have Alio. I remember doing some coverage in regard to that with that. So those things are very, very big deals to say the least. I know we're putting a lot of emphasis even on your Stellar, just briefly. I mean, do we find it interesting that even the Bank for International Settlements right here in their BIS bulletin for the rise of tokenized money market funds, look what they mentioned, guys. Page 6 of 8 says that basically initially Stellar Network allows comparatively cheap transfers in smaller amounts compared to other blockchains, was the preferred choice of issuers, and it caters to a broad investor base, including retail. I mean, my goodness, to have them highlighted in a BIS document, that's pretty interesting. And then if we're going to tie in like your ripples, again, even from this is recent. This working paper 101350, elasticity of money. And they point out right here on May 2026, not that long ago, this statement. It says such provision of liquidity on demand allows financial obligations to be settled efficiently, preventing gridlock and mitigating disruptive effects of shocks the broader economy. I mean, how do you say on-demand liquidity backwards? Right there. What's Ripple's main product? On-demand liquidity. Right down here, it talks about the firm's need for liquidity on demand is substantial. So what is Ripple's main product? On-demand liquidity. They literally wrote it backwards. And then this last part. It says here, as far as under the framework, banks cannot provide liquidity on demand, such as through credit lines, unless these facilities are pre-funded. So again, think about how Ripple flips the script in regard to Nostro accounts that are pre-funded. Okay, so there's a lot to be said about some of these things. We got into a lot in regard to obviously all this. I just want to give you guys some brief updates, and we're going to wrap it up because we need to, right? Even in the recent news, remember how we just mentioned Moonpay? Remember how we just mentioned Franklin Templeton, Canton connection? In the recent news from the Defiant about a month ago, Franklin Templeton wires Benji money market fund into Moonpay. Oh, you don't say, for on-chain stablecoin swaps. On top of that, there's this company called Payward, which you guys probably already know about them. It's just another way of saying Kraken. So Payward and Franklin Templeton announced strategic collaboration to advance tokenized assets, institutional digital finance. Right? Watch this. We go over to here, even on a basic search. This is interesting. Payward building open programmable rails for global markets. Payward is the parent company behind Kraken. Oh, really? You don't say. And watch this. Overledger integration with Kraken. Overledger integration with 2 forms of Stripe. Actually, 3 forms. Stripe right here for Stripe Premium. ChargeKeep, which is recurring payments. So again, some of that residual income. PayPal and Stripe verified bot partner, which is Upgrade Chat. Also, Rue, he shared on the screen Fiserv. We have Overledger integration with Fiserv right there. We also have this right here. Remember how he said Bridge? This is a new discovery. Overledger integration with Bridge, acceleration, innovation with open banking. and streamlining MLS workflows. You don't say. How about this? He also flashed on the screen. He didn't mention out loud. I saw it. You mentioned or shown, I should say, OKX. You have OKX integration with Overledger. You also shared on the screen Alchemy. Boom. There's some Alchemy examples. You also shared Crossmint. You have Crossmint examples. You also shared a little bit of a Slack. You didn't mention out loud. We have Slack examples. And you also mentioned Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA. We have Overledger making an API call with Make.com over to NVIDIA, back to the Overledger to prepare a smart contract deployment and to sign it with the Overledger. And last but not least, shout out to Francisco. Something you had on the screen, you didn't mention TRM Labs, that's okay. Francisco says, in his opinion, if a network isn't collaborating and partner with TRM Labs, there's no chance of any collaboration with what? The Federal Reserve. And back in August of 2025, Ripple is proud to do what? Be a founding member of TRM Labs. Look what it says here: preventing fraud and financial crime or digital currencies, Beacon Network, first of its kind, real-time crypto crime response network. So we have crossed our T's, we have dotted our I's. Wow, what a deep dive.
And by the way, shout out to Underdog Research Channel. He's highlighted TRM Labs in relation to Plume. Okay, and Plume's another one that deserves some looking into. And a lot of those companies that Max just mentioned that relate to the Overledger also relate to Zebec. I believe OKX is an investing member of ZBCN. Okay, let me see if I can bring that up right quick here. But yeah, this is like, so x402 is embedded in absolutely everything. When they turn that network on, so like when we get clarity and like when everything starts flowing through all these networks with clarity, man alive, it's just going to be a happy time for us crypto investors. And I believe a lot of people are not prepared for what's going to happen. Like AI and AI agents are going to take a lot of jobs. Robots are going to take a lot of jobs. And I don't know that people are investing or are ready for what's going to happen. You know, I'm basically telling my guys, you can't afford not to invest at this point, because the world as we know it is going to be a vastly different world in just like a mere 2 years. You know, agentic AI and robots will take a lot of the jobs, and then in will come people like Sam Altman, who's already been testing universal basic income with WorldCoin and different things like that. So, I mean, I don't want to paint a very bleak future, but that's kind of what's coming up, guys. So, you know, I know the crypto market is down right now, but believe me, it's going to be up soon. And, you know, not financial advice. And, you know, you don't want to be one of those ones on universal basic income. But here we are with Zebec's investors, all of which did we mention tonight in reference to Agentic AI, Coinbase Ventures, Circle, OKX Ventures, Solana. We didn't mention Lightspeed, but Lightspeed is an investor in XRP. We got Gemini here. And okay, those are it. I think Republic has come up as well tonight, maybe once. But yeah, but you can see here with these four, these five, Zebec is well covered when it comes to Agentic AI. And with Mr. Jim Breyer and Breyer Capital, he's invested in Meta, which, you know, Meta is probably going to be involved with Agentic AI for sure. And he's also invested in Epic Games. So just wanted to hit you with that once Max brought in the Pipe Dream APIs that connect to everything. So again, yeah, Quant's heavily connected there.
Well, very good. I'm glad to have done this research with you. It's been a while since we've done this together, but nonetheless, we've been both covering X402. So there you guys have it. Thank you so much, Rue. Glad to be with you, brother.
Yeah, nice back from the past episode. Wonderful episode, guys. Let me know what you guys think. What do you guys think about Canton? What do you guys think about Zebec? What do you think about the connections we made? What are some of your top cryptos? And thank you guys so much for coming through. If you made it to the end, please put X402 in the comments, and I'll know you made it to the end. Help spread the video around, and we're out. Peace.
Thanks.